Hello there guys, and welcome today to our first video on the channel. This is going to be a pretty interesting channel. I've not usually done anything like this. Usually it's always gaming, but let's hop right in. Today we are going to, I'm going to try to give you some proof about the messiahship of Jesus. This is mainly to, one, help Christians, to help non-Christians believe, and to help the Jews realize. But I have a sheet here that's going to help me stay on track and know where I need to go, and then I also have a Bible here that I'll read the verse and then you can look at it if you want to make sure, but then I'll look at it in my Bible and read it from the Bible. It is a King James Version Bible. But the first thing that we will be talking about is how Jesus was born of a virgin. Okay, so the place where you can find it in the Old Testament where it says that the Messiah will be born of a virgin is in Isaiah chapter 7 verse 14. Isaiah chapter 7 verse 14. And it says, "Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel." And yeah, so therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Now that is in the Old Testament, in the book of Isaiah, chapter 7, verse 14. Okay, so we read how in Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14, it says that a virgin will conceive, and you shall call his name Emmanuel. So in Matthew chapter 1, verse 23, Matthew chapter 1 verse 23, it says, "Behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel," which being interpreted is God is with us. So Matthew chapter 1 verse 23 says, "Behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel," which being interpreted is God is with us. So Isaiah, written hundreds of years before Matthew, says a virgin will conceive. And in Matthew, it says that Jesus had a virgin birth. Okay, so the next topic that we have is how he should be born in Bethlehem. And if you go to the Old Testament, in Micah chapter 5, verse 2, Micah chapter 5, verse 2, it says, "But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall come forth unto me that is to be ruler of Israel, whose goings forth have been from old, from everlasting." So in Micah chapter 5 verse 2, it's prophesying that the Messiah will be born in Bethlehem. Okay, so we read how in the book of Micah it prophesies that the Messiah will be born in Bethlehem. And if you go to Matthew chapter 2 verse 1, it says, "Now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem." So it's saying that Jesus was born in Bethlehem. And then in chapter 2 verse 6, "And thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, art not the least among the princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come a governor, that shall rule my people Israel." So it's saying that in Micah, the Messiah will come from Bethlehem, and Jesus was born in Bethlehem. Okay, so the next thing that we'll be going over is was he a prophet? If he was actually a prophet. And in Deuteronomy chapter 18 verses 18 to 19, Deuteronomy chapter 18 verses 18 to 19, it says, "I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him." So it's saying that I'll raise up a prophet to come and speak my word. Okay, so we read how in Deuteronomy it says that God would raise up a prophet to speak his word, that God would put his words in his mouth. And if you go to Matthew chapter 21 verse 11, "And the multitude said, This is Jesus, the prophet of Nazareth of Galilee." And that is in Israel. So it was saying that in Deuteronomy, I'll raise up a prophet, and in Matthew, the people are calling Jesus a prophet. Okay, so the next point that we'll be going over is that how the Messiah would be betrayed by a friend. And if you go to Psalms chapter 41, it is a Psalm of David, the chief musician. If you go to Psalms chapter 41, verse 9, it says, "Yea, mine own familiar friend, in whom I trusted, which did eat of my bread, hath lifted up his heel against me." And so that's pretty much saying that my friend, who I knew very well, he's betrayed me. Okay, so we just read how in Psalms it says that the Messiah would be betrayed by a friend, and you can find it in pretty much any of the Gospels. But if you go to Matthew, and then you start at chapter 26, verse 47, it says, "And while he yet spake, lo, Judas, one of the 12, came, and with him a great multitude with swords and staves, from the chief priests and elders of the people. Now he that betrayed him gave them a sign, saying, Whomsoever I shall kiss, that same is he. Hold him fast. And forthwith he came to Jesus, and said, Hail, Master, and kissed him. And Jesus said unto him, Friend, wherefore art thou come? Then came they, and laid hands on Jesus, and took him." So when Judas kissed him, Jesus said, friend. He called him a friend, and then in Psalms it said, "My friend betrayed me." Okay, so now we can go over how the Messiah would be betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. Now, some of these I didn't really know were in here because these are actually pretty descriptive prophecies and stuff. But if you go to the book of Zechariah in chapter 11, verse 12, "And I said unto them, If ye think good, give me my price, and if not, forbear. So they weighed for my price 30 pieces of silver." Okay, so that's sort of like Judas talking in a way. It's like I told them to give me my price, and they said they would give 30 pieces, and I took it. Okay, so when the prophecy is actually fulfilled, you can find it, for instance, in the book of Matthew in chapter 26, and it starts at verse 14, and it's talking about Judas going to the chief priests. And then in 15 it says, "And said unto them, What will ye give me, and I will deliver him unto you? And they covenanted with him for 30 pieces of silver." And yeah, so they sold Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, and in the book of Zechariah, it prophesied that the Messiah would be sold for 30 pieces of silver. Okay, so next what we have here is how there would be false witnesses rise up against him. And if you go to the book of Psalms, chapter 35, verse 11, it says, "False witnesses did rise up. They laid to my charge things that I knew not." And if you remember, they said that he blasphemed, but we'll take a look at that. Okay, so where you can find where this prophecy is fulfilled, for instance, in the book of Matthew. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I had a little storage issue. But where you can find where the prophecy is fulfilled is in the book of Matthew. Let me see here. In the book of Matthew, chapter 26, verses 59 to 60. And it says, "Now the chief priests and elders and all the council sought false witness against Jesus to put him to death, but found none. Yea, though many false witnesses came, yet found they none. At the last came 2 false witnesses." So it was saying that the Pharisees and all them, the chief priests, they all tried to find false witness against Jesus, and in the Old Testament it says that he would be accused by false witnesses. Okay, so this next part is how the Messiah would be silent in front of his enemies, meaning that he wouldn't open his mouth. And you can find this in the book of Isaiah, which is pretty much a book completely of prophecies. But if you go to Isaiah chapter 53, and then you go to verse 7, it says, "He was oppressed, and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he openeth not his mouth." So it's saying that the Messiah would not speak before his enemies. He would not try to argue with them or anything. Okay, where you can find this prophecy being fulfilled is in the book of Matthew, in chapter 27, verses 12 to 14. It says, "And when he was accused of the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing. Then said Pilate unto him, Hearest thou not how many things they witness against thee? And he answered him to never a word, insomuch that the governor marveled greatly." Meaning that no matter what they said against him, Jesus never opened his mouth, fulfilling the prophecy which was written. Okay, so the next thing that we'll be doing is how the Messiah would be beaten by his enemies. And if you go to the book of Isaiah again, in chapter 50, verse 6, it says, "I gave my back to the smiters, and my cheeks to them that plucked off the hair. I hid not my face from shame and spitting." I mean that he didn't try to stop them from beating them. He let them. He didn't try to stop them. Okay, so that thing that I read in Isaiah chapter 50, verse 6, that is actually two different prophecies. One that he would be beaten by his enemies, and then another that he would be spit upon. And then you can pretty much find the answer for three prophecies within a couple verses here in the book of Matthew, chapter 27. But the prophecies are that he would be beaten, he would be spit upon,